Well, good evening. My name is Andy Cripps, CEO of the Effingham County Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the 2021 Board of Education District 2 Candidates Forum, presented by the Chamber and the Effingham Herald. We're glad you can join us for what we hope will be an informative discussion. The forum will introduce candidates seeking to fill an unexpired term on the Effingham County Board of Education serving District 2. The election day for the Board of Education seat is November 2nd, with early voting beginning today, October 12th. Before we begin, the Chamber of Commerce encourages you to vote yes on two questions on the county election ballot. One authorizes an extension of the current SPLOST. The other will authorize a tax exemption on e-commerce inventory, removing a competitive disadvantage for Effingham. You can find out more about these questions on our website at www.effinghamcounty.com/vote-yes. Now I'd like to introduce the moderator for this evening's forum, Mark Lastinger.
Good evening, everybody. I appreciate you tuning into this event. I hope you find it informative. We've done a few of these before over the last 3 or 4 years, and I think they have been quite revealing in some cases, and hopefully it'll be beneficial to you and beneficial to both of our candidates. I've got about 15 questions prepared, and we're going to try to get them to reveal themselves and the way they approach things personally, and then we'll get into some specific issues as well. All right, both candidates have a chance to give an opening statement, and through the luck of the draw, Ms. Landing goes first.
Hi. I'm Jan Landing, and I just want to thank the Chamber and Mark and the Herald for having this forum tonight, so Jeff and I can discuss issues that are important for the District 2 seat that's open. I've lived in the county for 25 years, and let's be honest, we have great shops, we have great restaurants, but people move here for the schools, so it's important to know what's going on and to support the things that the school board are trying to do.
Hi, my name is Jeff Shelke. I also want to thank the Chamber and Mark for hosting this event tonight. I think one of the things that has drawn me here to live in Effingham when we moved from Kansas City was definitely the school system. We have 3 children, 2 of which were still in school when moved at the time. And after doing a lot of research between Chatham County and Effingham County, it overwhelmingly was, to us, Effingham was the place to be. And tonight, hopefully, between Jan and I, we can let our positions be known as to what we see the future for Effingham is, and go from there.
All right, well, let's get into the questions. And the first one, as I was compiling these questions, I thought about, after talking to both of you guys a few times now, it's very apparent that neither of you consider yourselves politicians. You don't come across that way, and we even joked about it a few minutes ago. But what is it, and we'll start with you, Mr. Schielke, what is it that spurred you to seek a seat on the Board of Education?
Honestly, Mark, there's a couple of reasons. One, I've been so involved with school activities and things like that since we moved down here. My son is a senior this year, our baby, and it's kind of come to that realization that I don't have anything left to do with school anymore. What am I going to do? And when the opportunity came up, it was a quick decision that I was like, you know what, I can do this. This is something that I can help the school system be better than what it already is. And taking my experiences from work and from what I've done at the school so far, that's kind of what was the driving force behind me doing this.
Sandy?
When I found out that Troy was not going to be running again, I knew immediately I was going to sign up. We have a lot in common, Troy and I, and we worked and volunteered together through the schools, in the schools, as our children were growing up. Our 4 children are all graduates of South Effingham High School, and they've chosen to continue to live here because of the schools. And now I have 5 grandchildren who are all going to be Mustangs. So I have continued to volunteer. I've been room mother and now room grandmother for over 20, 25 years in the school system. And the county is growing so fast that we need to find a way to keep up with the growth, and then additionally plan for the continued growth that's going to be coming our way.
Okay. Well, this is sort of a broad question. We'll start with you, Ms. Landing. What attributes are essential for a good school board member, and how have you shown these in your professional life and or as a parent as well involved?
Well, one of the things that I think is very important is that you have to be respectful of others' opinions and their ideas. Your idea is not always going to be the best one, and you have to learn to work with others to do what's best for the whole county. Of course, Jeff and I both want what's best for District 2, but we also have to look at what's best for the county as a whole. The thing that I like is the board works so well together. And I just would love to have the opportunity to be a part of that and to contribute to the ongoing success of the board. Our graduation rates over the years have come from 70% up to 97%. So that's an important thing to keep striving for.
Okay. Ms. Schielke?
I think over the years, I know for me anyway, I've learned to adapt to different people and different situations. Working in the retail sector all my life, you deal with a ton of different people, happy people, mad people, and you have to be the one that brings everybody together, especially when you're talking district-wide for something. Part of the school board is also having an open mind, and like Jane was saying, being open to others' opinions. And just because you've done something for so long doesn't mean that that's always the way it's supposed to be. You gotta be open to change. You gotta be open to do different things or look at something a different way than what you've had the opportunity to look at it, something for the last 15 years or whatever. Just because something's always been done a certain way doesn't mean it's always been done the right way.
All right, well, let's expand on that. And you keep going. What experiences or skills do you have that have prepared you to be a board member?
Well, like I said, I've worked in retail all my life. I'm working with a bunch of different personalities, a bunch of different people I've managed over the years, from couple hundred people up to 350 at my last job. And you get to see how other people look at different things. You may see the same thing. It may be a microphone, but you may see something that's going to project your voice, and somebody else may see something that's going to record your voice. And then you have to sit there and decipher what is it supposed to do for you. And I think being on the school board is kind of that same way. You've got to decipher what is going to be best for not only your kids in District 2, but for the whole district.
Okay, Ms. Landing?
Okay. I thought I already answered that question.
Well, let's, what experiences or skills do you have that have prepared you to be a board member?
Oh, okay. So I have been volunteering in the school system for about 25 years. I've helped in the classrooms. I've helped the ADs, the athletic directors. At one point, there was no administrative assistants for the athletic directors. And I took it upon myself to volunteer for 6 months and help Rob Porterfield do all the things needed done that, that he needed somebody to do. So, the school system has many ways that you can help and get involved. And that's one thing that I would like to see happen is more parent involvement again, like when my children were in school. I've also been on many boards. I've been PTO chairs of different committees. I worked for Bank of America for 22 years, so I've worked with different types of people, and I've also chaired different boards for the employees there. I'm just the kind of person, if I see something that needs to be done, I just jump in. You know, I'm ready to learn, ready to help.
Okay. Well, this question is also for you, a new question.
Okay.
And it's important to the voters, but it's probably at least as important, if not more important, to the teachers and the administrators and the people who work under the board. So could you define how do you define a school board member's role and responsibilities?
Well, the school board members, they actually say if we needed, you know, we look at things and then we say, hey, you know, this has happened. We need to rewrite or come up with a new policy for this instance or for something that might happen in the future regarding the employees, you know, many different types of things. So then we have to look at the policy and we go to the superintendent, and he would then write the policy and then come back to us, and he also would be the one to administer it. But the superintendent kind of serves as the chief advisor for the board. And so when the board members come together, you know, there might be something in my district that needs to be done or needs to be looked at, but then you also have to go to the board and explain the things that need attention. So you can look at doing the things that need to be done.
Shelke.
The way I look at it is kind of like in business. I see Dr. Ford as the CEO and us being the board directors. And as such, you know, we can make suggestions and things like that. He then in turn will, you know, say, hey, that's great. No, let's not do that. Let's do this. And he's the one that kind of directs all the policy. For us, it's a matter of we're there to help push the policies and make sure that everything is right for all 13,600 students and 1,800 staff members.
Okay. Well, y'all answered that question pretty well. I think we just skip the next one because y'all kind of delve into it a little bit. So that means, let's see, it's Mr. Schielke's turn to go first. So along that same line, if a parent approached you, say you were at the grocery store or out at a restaurant with your family, and someone approached you with a problem, say they felt like their kid was mistreated in class or the coach wasn't playing a kid like they thought was the way it should be handled, just a personal situation involving a child, how would you handle that?
I think you need to make yourself available to listen to what they have to say. I don't think that it's our position to make a determination right then and there before you have all the facts. There's reasons why that kid isn't playing, or there's reasons why, you know, this kid was being disciplined for something else, or, you know, you've got to listen to all sides of the story before you can make any determination of what the correct action should be. And like I was saying earlier, you've got to be open to everybody. And in the position that I'm in as the president of the Booster Club now, I hear a lot of that. I hear a lot of, you know, problems, complaints, things like that. And you do it like you do your own kids. You know, you listen to them, you get the facts, and then you go to the person who you need to get the rest of the facts from.
Okay. So,
Well, if I was approached, I always like to take the view of, do unto others. So I always want to listen and validate whatever their concern or their complaint might be. And treat them like I would want to be treated. So the superintendent, of course, Yancey Ford, works for us, he works for the board. So if someone were to come to me with concerns or a complaint, depending on what it was, I would go to Yancey and let Yancey know. And then it would be discussed or it would go through the appropriate channels from there. Whether it be a teacher, it would go through the principal and then, after it went to the superintendent.
so basically you're both saying you wouldn't get personally involved in it. You would just tell the appropriate authorities and let them handle it.
That is correct, because we're representatives. We're not the end all be all.
Okay. All right. Well, along that same line, the Effingham County Board of Education has a unified front on most things. Most votes are 5-0.
Right.
Very rarely is there even a 4-1 vote. So it's a very unified group. To me, that's a sign of good leadership, good preparation. But if there was a situation where you started having some dissension on the board and you started having 3-2 votes, especially if it was something, really, really important, how would you address a situation like that? How would you deal with it? We'll start with you, Ms. Manning.
Well, the board, of course, is give and take. And like you said, there are hardly any votes that go where there's people coming head to head about it. I really believe that the intention for the board or the people who are on the board now is to work together for the betterment of the county. If it came to the point to where people were just not moving, it depends on what it was. I would have to look at what that item is and how important it is to the betterment of the whole county. And if I'm one of the ones that's abstaining or voting no, then I might have to step back and look and say, okay, well, let's look at the big picture again. Maybe I'm not seeing it the right way. So it's more on my part, I think, about not putting my personal needs or goals and looking at the, if it would be beneficial. Now, if it comes down to something that I truly believe, then I'm going to dig my heels in, and they're going to have to push real hard.
Okay, Mr. Schielke.
I'd put them in a headlock and get them. It's like Jan said, there's a lot of give and take. And I think, unfortunately, that's where some politics come involved. No matter how we want to stay out of politics, let's be honest, there's politics involved. And, you've got to make a strong case as to why you want to vote, the way you do. I think if there's some dissent to where, it's, well, we need to vote on this and I like it or I don't like it, whatever. Give me a reason. Don't just tell me because, it's like when your kids are, well, why do I have to do that? I don't want to take the trash out. Well, we have to because, give me a reason. Give me something that says, okay, this is why we're doing it this way. This is why I feel this is important. And then either I'm going to say, okay, I understand your side, let's do it. Or I disagree with you and it's not going to happen that way. And I'm still going to vote no. So that's kind of how I would handle that situation.
Okay.
After the movie.
So if you found yourself in a 3-2 vote and it was really important, an important issue to you, you still would, see that this policy was implemented or supported with a smile on your face, even though you opposed it. Is that basically what you're saying?
Well, there again, it depends on what it is. It would have to depend on the issue at hand. You know, some things that the board looks at are not real heavy. They're lighter and they're easily passed or they're easily voted down. But then when you have some things that are, you know, you have to take time and go in depth. If I truly believe that I feel like it's for the best thing for District 2 and the best thing for the county, then I would still have to vote no.
I'd agree. I think you always fall back on your people. You fall back on District 2. You know, is it the best thing for everybody involved in District 2? And you make that decision. That's why everybody voted you in.
Okay. Well, that kind of coincides pretty well with the next question. Now, how would you describe your vision for education in Effingham County? What should the students, you know, come away with? Obviously solid academics, but there's other things to consider. You know, there's manners and, you know, patriotism, maybe civics understanding, you know. What is your vision for education? Basically, that's the question.
So for me, I think a lot of it has to do with just being a good person. You know, there's so many things in the world right now that can lead you astray and distract you, whether it be social media or your neighbor across the street. You know, it's one of those things where in football, not only are you taught, you know, hey, you want to go out and do your best, you want to win, blah, blah, blah. You're also building young men on that field. You know, you're building the future for these kids. You know, they're going to work together as a team. They're going to learn. They're going to be boys that become men by the time they're seniors. You know, a lot of them are going to be 18 years old. They're going to be off going to college. They're going to be able to vote, you know, and that I think is what our job is on the board, is to make sure that everybody keeps progressing and growing through their years in school, and to make them the best possible students that they can be. You look at all the athletic scholarships and things like that, and everybody's so proud of those, which they should be. But how many more academic scholarships are there? How many more of those athletic scholarships get academic scholarships as well? You know, one of the highest GPAs on the football team is a 4.0. 4.0 student playing football. He's just a dumb lineman, you know, and he's really not. So I think it's important that we continue to do that and continue to help the students and teachers themselves grow and always be learning.
I always heard that the offensive lineman was the kind of guy you wanted your son to marry. That's what I was always told.
Well, it's very true. That's what my wife said 23 years ago.
All right, Miss Lanning, what do you have to say about that?
When the students graduate from Effingham County schools, I'd love for them to have the confidence in knowing that they have what it takes to go out and succeed, whether that's staying in our county and opening their own business, or staying, after they go to college, becoming teachers and coming back to teach for our county. There's so many ways that they could be successful if they decide to stay here and then create their own families, and then in turn have their families in our school system.
Yeah, I think that is a great sign that we do have so many people come back and teach here.
Yes,
that's probably the greatest advertisement for the system that it could have.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's continue, and we'll continue with you.
Okay.
And I think you mentioned this in your opening statement, but what do you believe is the major issue confronting our school district, and what is the solution?
Well, I don't claim to have all the answers right now anyway. The biggest thing is how rapidly the county is growing. And our end is growing more rapidly than anywhere else right now. I actually called the building and zoning office today. And she confirmed that our end of the county is growing faster than anywhere else. My concern is that people are coming here before our classrooms are ready for their children. We don't have the classrooms ready for the children. South Effingham Elementary School, during the time it was shut down for COVID, added 20 classrooms. Well, by the time children were back in those seats in those classrooms, it's already full again. And right now we have permits for hundreds of houses that are being built on the south end of the county in District 2. And that's very concerning, because where are those children going to go to school once those families move in? So, like I said, I don't have all the solutions, but I do know that places like Richmond Hill that have experienced the same rapid growth have gone through the commissioners down there and assessed fees to the builders for new homes that would go directly to build new classrooms for those children that are moving here.
Okay. Sure.
Can you repeat the question?
What do you believe is the major issue confronting our school district, and what is the solution?
So I think Gino's correct. As far as growth in the county, we're seeing a huge impact with roads being worked on and new homes being built and things like that. I do know that we do have, was it 2 new schools on the books to being built, an elementary school and a middle school. Whether or not it's fast enough to keep up with the growth, I don't have that answer. I haven't researched that enough. But I think for the immediate future right now, if that's what we're talking about, I think we need to look at our bus driver situations. We don't have enough routes right now, enough people to make all the routes. And I think if we head that off right now, we'll be in a lot better position than a lot of schools around us in the country. One of the things, we don't have a lot of the issues that some of these other counties have throughout the United States, in Virginia and a lot of these places where the school board is just being bombarded with how they handle the COVID situation and things like that. That's one of the things I think our board has done a tremendous job on. I think they've handled COVID and how they've kept everyone safe and things like that. I think they did a phenomenal job on that. And if all we have to worry about is building more schools and the growth of the county, I don't see that as a problem. I see that as a great thing, because that just shows that more and more people are coming out here for our school system. And to me, that's what's important.
It is kind of staggering. I think it was Board Chairman Lamar Allen. He's here most every Thursday for Rotary meetings, and I think it was one of those where he said, when you add 700 or 800 students a year, that's another school that you need just in 1 year's time. I mean, that's kind of nuts when you think about that. All right, well, let's continue with you, Mr. Schielke. Discuss any, excluding the growth. You actually talked about some other problems, but excluding the growth, what are the other primary concerns that you might have, and how would you like to see them addressed?
So I think a lot of it would be, we do have some overcrowding in our schools, right? Because there's in South and District 2, there's not a lot of room to spread kids out. I think the class sizes are getting to be fairly large compared to some areas. I think that technology would be something that we probably need to invest a little more in. There's a lot of teachers that have to bring their own personal laptops to school so they can kind of transfer things and do things at home. It'd be nice to give a teacher a laptop so they can work at home instead of staying all night at school to get things done. Give them the flexibility to do and create their own family time as needed. You know what I mean? I think that it's one of those things where you've got to balance that work life a little more, and I think that's one of the things that we could do for them.
Ms. Landy?
Well, I've known some teachers that have had the same desk for 25 years. So there are other things to look at, even with the schools that are here. Improvements that can be made. And I agree, technology is a huge thing. I believe that the board needs to invest money in new ways to do things and more equipment. We have all these logistics jobs that are being created right here in our own county. The students need to be ready for any type of job that we have in our area. So, you know, there's furniture, there's technology, opportunities. You know, I would love to see when my children were in school, they actually had shadow days where they could go shadow different kinds of businesses that they were interested in. Mentors, would love to see mentors take on high school students that are interested in different types of jobs. I love seeing the community get involved, because when children see that you're interested in what they're doing and what their future is, the sky's the limit.
I agree with you. I believe every kid down deep wants to make people proud of them.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. Well, about the new desk, new technology, would you support an increase in taxes to get these things, or would you try to squeeze the budget somehow and make some cuts somewhere to make those things happen? How would you approach that?
I would say vote yes for SPOS. In viewing the current, and if you don't know, you're able to view the school board meetings live on YouTube, every meeting that they have. You can also go back and watch them. I'm amazed at the money that this county has received through eSPOS. Hundreds of thousands of dollars every month. And that could continue to help with the technology and to buy, you know, new things needed for the schools. If you're not going to be able to build the school, you know, that you can add on to it. Well, then when you're adding on to it, you need to go through it and then also update things. So, and it's just like when you're remodeling your house, after you live there 25 years, it's time to do stuff. So you have to update it and make sure, you know, that it's safe and it's there to help with what is current and stay current as far as being able to be up to date on the technology, the, you know, safety, everything.
Okay, Mr. Shelke.
What she said.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think there's a lot of different things, and before you go and increase taxes and things like that, I think you really need to dig down deep internally and say, okay, what are we spending our money on? And what could we spend our money on a little better? Do we take a little bit of this, a little bit of this, and a little bit of this, and then we make our new little nest egg to work for upgrades at schools and things like that? Or do we just look at our programs and say, okay, we need to change this one into videography or something like that? I mean, we've got one of the best schools in Savannah at SCAD, and I don't feel that we have like the curriculum to work with those kids that really want to go that route. So I think there's a little bit of everything that we can do, and I think we need to maybe look at moving money around before we go asking for more.
Okay. Well, Ms. Landon, what do you think it is that our school district does the best, and why?
Our school district puts the safety of every student, administrator, teacher anyone that is on those campuses, they put safety first. They look at keeping them safe, making sure that, the communication is excellent. If something happens, emails go out, alerts go out. Everyone that needs to know that something's going on is made aware. I used to receive alerts all the time when I had children in school, whether I thought it was important or not. It was important because I did get the information. And Yancey, along with the board and the administrators, the principals, they're great at communicating. And part of keeping those kids safe is through that communication.
Okay. Super.
I agree. I think communication is one of the best things that I've seen in this school district since we've been here. Dr. Ford's newsletter that comes out each week, talking about what's been going on in the district, what is going on here, reminders of different activities going on at each school. I think that's fantastic. And I think they definitely need to continue doing that, because that's what gets everybody involved in the community. That's what gets parents involved. That's what gets your student athletes involved in different things. Softball tonight, they swept, it's Lakeside. They won like 16-0 and 9-0 or something crazy like that for softball. Those little things like that they're great. And I think that's one of the best things the school and the school board that has done is to keep parents updated on things that go on throughout the week.
Okay. We'll continue with you. Unfortunately, a lot of the things probably that the school board would like to do, they can't do because their hands are tied by the eggheads in Atlanta. But if are there any changes that you would like to see come from the state that might help education in Effingham County better?
Mark, I honestly don't know. I didn't know that that's all controlled by other people besides us. But I would say they need to free up some more money, right? Because that's what makes everything work is money. If we had unlimited resources of money, we'd be able to do everything that we want to do. We'd be able to have new schools, we'd have new furniture, we'd have new technology, we'd have everything that we need to make our students and staff successful. So I can't honestly answer that because I don't know enough about that.
Okay.
But that's what I would say.
The reason I thought of this question is my daughter is a teacher, and the state is always changing the goalposts, like what a kid is supposed to learn and these kinds of things. And about the time you almost get there, they move the goalpost again, and it used to frustrate her to no end. So what would you have to say about that?
Well, there again, whether people understand it or not, it does involve money. Every time we find a great program and we get the teachers trained on that program and they get almost the complete way through it, all of a sudden there's a new program and everybody thinks it's better. And then you have to spend more money on training those teachers again. And who's to say, when the other program was already working fine, and who's to say that another program that somebody, one person, 5 people might think is even better than this one. And I'm talking a lot of money and a lot of time for the teachers out of the classroom. It's important for the teachers to be able to be in the classroom where they want to be. And the state also, I would love to see them continue the financial incentives for the teachers, not only for the teachers that we are seeking to bring here and, start as new teachers, but for teachers that have been there 20 years. Sometimes it's hard to look at working somewhere and investing your life for 20 years and then realize, hey, well, these new people coming in are making the same amount of money as I am. So, there's a lot to look at when it comes from the state down to the local.
Okay. Now, I've only got two more questions, and y'all have broached a little, or delved into both of them just a little bit. The one of them is, was there anything else that you can think of that the district can do to create those good citizens, those good human beings that you had brought up earlier? This is your turn to go first,
Okay.
but I know things like ROTC, things like that, they really pound values into the kids. So is there anything else you can think of that maybe we can do to enhance those kinds of things?
Well, ROTC for sure is one. And through ROTC, do they not only learn about good citizenship and patriotism, and they also learn about helping, the person next to them. You don't have to look far to find somebody that needs help these days. Whether it be financial or just a helping hand for a day. So there again, I think mentors would come in as a great way to show young people. Some young people just don't know how to offer help, or they don't know what people need help with. So I would think that as they grow up, they need guidance. You don't just automatically, learn to go out and be patriotic. You have to be involved in things and in groups like ROTC. And Effingham County is great as far as having like the Freedom Rings, where the county, anytime that somebody needs help, the whole county rallies around them. So there's always, when that happens, if the young people take notice or get involved, then that's a good way also, to learn, to teach them to be good citizens.
Yeah, sure.
I know I talk a lot about athletics and things like that. I'd like to see an intramural sports program started. Not everybody is going to be the greatest baseball player on earth, and there's only a handful of kids that are going to be able to play baseball. Not everybody's going to be the star running back or quarterback of a football team, but maybe we have a flag football group, intramural group that starts softball, baseball, whatever it be. You also have very few home ec type classes, like back in the day when we grew up, where you learned how to change a tire. I think, everybody's gotten kind of lax on those basic skills because of AAA and roadside assistance and things like that, that I think you kind of get away from teaching those things anymore, because they're just nobody uses it anymore. Nobody uses those sets of skills. So I kind of look at it a different way, as I look at it as what else can you do to get kids involved in teamwork? Because when they go out and they start their job and out of college and things like that, if they might not know what they want to do in college yet. I know my daughter changed her mind like, I don't know, 50 times. But, if those classes were available to them, or if they had someone, one of the things I remember was in Blue Springs, the football coach taught everybody how to change a tire. It's one of those team building exercises and things like that. There's a lot of kids that still don't know how to change a tire. So those are some of the things that I'd see.
It's funny you mentioned that. You made me think about my father. He made me take typing, and I didn't want to do it. And now all I do is type all day long. So he was definitely right about that.
Well, and he reminded me also that when our children started driving, we had 3 boys and a girl. And my husband got out there in the yard and showed every one of them how to change a tire. So.
But you don't see driver's ed anymore either.
I know.
Not in school. You do everything online, and then it's up to the parents to take the kids 40 hours worth of driving, where we had the
everybody in the car,
the big blue simulators that you watched on the TV screen and things like that. I mean, how cool would that be today to see what the simulation would be as they're driving and things like that? Give them real life, examples of what's going to happen before they go out and
Yeah.
do something crazy, do something a kid would do.
All right, well, we've come to the last question. You get to go first with it. Both of you have mentioned this about how great the system is about communicating information, whether it be the latest COVID stats or who won the ball game, these kinds of things, any kind of special event, and that's great. But you also both kind of mentioned that, you know, the system needs more volunteers, more mentors. So that situation, how do you close that gap where you get more people involved, more parents involved? So what do you go first with that?
I wish I had the answer to that one right now because I need him for football. But I think you have to make things interesting. You have to make things, you have to make people want to help out. You have to make them want to volunteer and be involved. You wouldn't think you'd have to, beg parents to be involved in their kids' lives. But in today's world, everybody works so much. I know my wife works 12-hour shifts at the hospital. Well, it's hard when you work 12 hours to get to a football game or a baseball game or something like that to help volunteer when it's already started by the time you get home, and if I had the answer to all of those questions, we'd be set. But it's one of those things where you have to be in constant communication. And I know that there's anytime that I ask for volunteers or beg for volunteers, I usually end up getting them. Whether I have to make little side deals, hey, if you do this, I'll take care of this for you. Don't worry about volunteering on this day. If you get me tonight, things like that. If you can be involved with the people in the community, you're going to get what you need. You're going to get every volunteer that you ask for. You're going to get the help that you need to help these students grow the way they need to grow. But it goes back to communication and making sure that everybody understands what you actually need. There's a lot of parents that just don't know.
Well, before you answer, and I will say, as I go to a lot of events, and it's kind of a disgraceful in a lot of instances. You think, like, gosh, if just one parent from every kid who was in this event was here, we'd have a big crowd.
Right.
It's really sad. You mentioned that you would think you would have to beg people to support their kid, and that's kind of sad. What do you say about that?
Well, and I do agree. There are so many households that people were many more hours than my parents did when I was growing up. And it's just the norm today. I know that one thing that I was very happy to see when my children was in school is they had a parent university. And it offered, at that point, technology was new and it was just being learned. And so you would have different parent universities. It would be, if your child is doing some type of math that you don't understand, you can't help them with their homework. So here, we're going to get together on this night and you come and we'll help you learn as well. The technology, there are lots of people that still don't understand how a computer works. And I can use some help sometimes. But it's just to find ways to involve the parents. And sometimes it has to be, almost a bribe to get them there. You have to offer them something to get them in so they can see the good things that are going on in the schools and to be a part of what's going on.
All right, well, we've reached the time for the closing comments, and Mr. Schielke, you're up first.
All right. Well, I just want to make sure that I want to thank you and Andy for having us tonight. Really appreciate, someone like myself really appreciates it because I'm not from the area. We moved here 4 years ago, and it's one of those things where I know my people around me that I see at school and games and things like that all the time. But it's different when you're able to get out and be in front of a bigger audience and a bigger crowd to let them know who you really are and what you really want to do. And I just want to, put it out there that I do want everybody's vote. on November 2nd for District 2 School Board.
Okay, Ms. Fanny?
Yes, again, thank you, Mark and Andy, for having us here. So we can let District 2 voters know what we stand for and what we'd like to see happen. We are here to represent District 2 and, you know, the future of not only our district, but the whole county. Early voting has already started today. Whether you have, this is so important, whether you still have children in your household that are in school, if you own property, you're paying school taxes. It's important, whether you have children in school or not, to vote. And if you know me and you think I would be a good representative for District 2, I ask that you put your confidence in me and show up and vote.
You touched on something very important. I think people forget, especially old people like me. They think my kids are gone, I shouldn't have to pay school taxes. Well, speaking from someone who appreciates my brakes on my car working, and
That's right.
you know, a dental hygienist who knows what she's doing.
Yes.
You know, it's still very important to your everyday life that we have a good education system, and I hope the voters will remember that.
All right. Well, I want to thank both of our candidates today and for our moderator, Mark. A wonderfully informative session here, and we do encourage people to get out and vote, whoever they support. But education is such an important part of Effingham County, and what attracts people here, what attracts industry here, is the education that our workforce receives and the role that education plays in the quality of life here and the kind of people that this community generates. And so we want to thank you for taking time to share your insights, and we want to encourage everyone watching this to get out and vote early. It's not going to be very difficult if you get out and vote early. And for our voters in Rankin, they actually have to vote twice. Once in the municipal election. That may not affect District 2 people, but get out and vote early, get it done and over with, and we'll have a clear answer on November 2nd. Also, again, I want to encourage you to vote yes on the 2 county ballot questions. One, to renew the SPLOST for 6 years, a very important funding mechanism for the county, and also to approve the Freeport exemption on e-commerce inventory. It seems like an esoteric question, but it will eliminate a competitive disadvantage that Effingham County faces in trying to attract those e-commerce employers. And we understand there are industries looking at this county. All our surrounding counties have already approved this tax exemption. And this can also lead to some very good jobs and investment in our community. So once again, I want to thank everyone for participating. We'll be presenting the mayoral candidates forum at 8 p.m. this evening, and we hope you'll tune in for that. Thank you very much, and have a great evening.